Hello, I'm Carol Hilty, Superintendent of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, CSDB. Welcome. I'm happy that you have decided to watch this program. I hope that you enjoy it. We welcome your feedback.
Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision, presented by Outreach Programs, the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. The CSDB logo is displayed with the tagline, Learning, Thriving, Leading. A woman is standing in front of a wall holding a long white cane. Captions are below on screen. Title, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Beecham, and I was born legally blind with optic nerve hypoplasia, which means that my optic nerve didn't develop all the way. So it's too small. And as a result, I have some usable vision in both eyes, but I really only consider my left eye to have usable vision. My right eye I don't really use. I have 400 vision in my left eye, and then in my right eye, I don't even know that there's an acuity for it. I do read print primarily, but I also read a lot of Braille, and I listen when I'm reading things in large quantities. So when I'm doing work for school or when I'm doing large amounts of reading for work, I'll use audio format to read a lot of documents.
Title, Education and Career.
I went to Tennessee School for the Blind for my K through 12 education, and it was a mixed experience in that I got a lot of the things that I needed. Extracurricular wise, I was able to participate in lots of different activities, and that was really wonderful. However, at the time at that particular school, maybe some of the academics weren't quite as rigorous as they might have been, and so I supplemented that by attending some classes at a local high school where I was able to take some honors and AP courses. Once I left the School for the Blind, I went to Middle Tennessee State University, where I received my bachelor's degree in therapeutic recreation and later my master's degree in exercise science. I have worked as a recreational therapist for I worked as a recreational therapist for about 5 years, and then I moved to Colorado to work as the chapter and community development coordinator for the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado. And that means that I get to meet lots of blind people throughout the state, tell them about the National Federation of the Blind, and help to build new chapters and community relationships in different areas throughout the state. It is a really fun job, and my background in recreational therapy and exercise science have really helped me because I can come up with lots of creative ways to recruit people and to get people interested in our organization and reach out to different groups who maybe have some athletic interests that we maybe haven't tied in with or made partnerships with. So even though my field of study isn't exactly aligned with the work that I'm currently doing, it definitely has helped me out a lot in the job that I currently have.
Title, Parental Involvement.
Growing up, my parents were really excellent. They expected me to do everything that anybody else did. There was never excuses. There was never special privileged treatment because I was blind. I did the same chores. I did the same activities. If there was something that we needed to figure out how to do differently, we just figured it out. The thing that I wish that my parents would have known about would have been organizations like the National Federation of the Blind, because my parents didn't know a lot about blindness, and if they had known more and had access to those kinds of organizations, then they would have known that they should have really pushed for me to learn more Braille when I was in school and to use Braille more regularly, because I did learn Braille growing up, but because I didn't use it as regularly in school, I'll always be a slower Braille reader. And I really wish now that I have high volumes of reading to do that I was a much faster Braille reader, because it would be much more effective.
Title: Overcoming Challenges.
As far as challenges are concerned, that I can't really think of very many challenges that I've faced because of blindness, and I think that has to do with my parents always making sure that I did everything that everybody else did, that I've just never known that there was anything that I couldn't do, and so I've always just done whatever I wanted to do. And I think that's why I naturally drifted towards my work with the National Federation of the Blind, because the core principle of the organization is that blind people can do absolutely whatever they want to with the proper tools and training. When I was growing up in Tennessee, is a lack of transportation. It was really hard to get from one place to another because there was not good fixed route transit. And so the way that I overcame that challenge was by moving to a city where there was better public transportation. I've seen other blind people who I went to school with in Tennessee move to rural areas and really limit themselves by just saying, well, this is where my family lives, this is where I'm going to stay, and not having that flexibility to go where it is that you can live your highest quality of life. And I feel like that is one of the better decisions that I've been able to make, is moving somewhere that I could do what I want to when I want to independently.
Title: Assistive Devices.
As far as tools and training that I use on a daily basis, I have an iPhone that I can have voiceover, so I can have things read to me. I also have a Braille display that syncs with my iPhone and my laptop so that I can read things in Braille. Like I can read the newspaper on our Newsline service, or I can read books or articles or different things like that in Braille or an audio format. I also use my cane and a guide dog for traveling. I use speech software when I need to on my computer, and I also use scan and read software so that I can access text on my computer. I use a slate and stylus sometimes when I need to take Braille notes.
Title: Advice for Parents and Teachers.
If I could give any advice to parents and teachers and people who are working with individuals who are blind and visually impaired, there would be two pieces that I would give. And the first piece of that advice would be have high expectations of every blind person, because we're capable of doing absolutely anything that we want. And the second piece of advice would be, don't worry so much about the usable vision. Usable vision's nice, and we're all going to use the usable vision that we have, but it's great to learn non-visual techniques for doing things, because if you lose more vision over time, or if you're like me and maybe something works for you when you're younger, but then you get older and you have like higher volumes of reading, or as far as travel, maybe you're traveling in different kinds of places that you weren't used to, knowing how to read Braille and knowing how to read Braille well, knowing how to use a cane and knowing how to use a cane well, knowing how to do things non-visually in the kitchen, knowing how to do things non-visually on the computer are all really huge assets.
Title: Keys to Success.
I think that some of the skills I have that have helped me to achieve my goals have been adaptability and just knowing how to take a situation, assess it, and figure out what I need to make it work. Then obviously, Braille has been helpful. Learning how to listen at a really fast rate has been something that has been very helpful to me. And also, good orientation and mobility skills have been very helpful to me, especially in moving to a new city where I didn't know anybody, being able to not depend on, just going from directions from point A to point B, and being able to use all the cues around me to figure out where I am, where I'm going, and what I need to do has been a huge asset.
Title: Closing Thoughts.
If I could let people know anything about people who are blind, there would be two things that I would say. Number one is don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask about vision. If you're curious about blindness related questions, don't be afraid to ask if we need assistance, instead of just assuming that we need assistance, because sometimes we maybe just have a different technique for doing it, and we really are okay, and we're on track and doing what we need to do. And if we get assistance at that point, it kind of can throw us off sometimes. And then the next thing would be that as blind people, we can do absolutely anything that sighted people can do. And so there's really more similarities between blind and sighted people than there are differences.
Learning from adult role models who are blind or low vision has been a production of the Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind, 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado, 80903, 719-578-2100, www.csdb.org. Videography by Deb Branch and Sean Leveille, copyright 2014.
Audio description, Jim Olson. Editing assistants, Diane Covington, Dr. Laura Douglas. Captioning, Neil Anthony Thomas, Corey McCormick. Transcription, Eleanor Vasquez.
A man is using a slate and stylus, a Braille writer, a refresher Braille, and types on a laptop.
Technology and people who are blind or low vision with George McDermott. Braille Part 1.
Braille is a form of tactual literacy for those who are blind and visually impaired. Braille consists of contracted and uncontracted Braille. Uncontracted Braille is simply the letters and numbers of the alphabet, where everything is spelled out in full as it would be in print. Contracted Braille consists of various combination of dots in the Braille cell itself that allows you to have contractions for various words. So, for example, THE is, or the sign is dots 2, 3, 4, 6 in the Braille cell. And this allows for much smaller books, a much shorter length than you would find if you simply used uncontracted Braille. One of the most basic forms of Braille writing comes in the form of a slate and stylus. A slate consists of a panel which you use to put in Braille via the use of the stylus, which is a little pin, like so. And I'm going to demonstrate how this is used. Braille is typically written from left to right. However, when you use a slate and stylus, you're punching the holes in the back of the paper, so you begin on the right-hand side and move over to the left. The structure of the cell is still the same. So for example, a B is dots 1 and 2. So that would be the same. It would just be a matter of dots 1 and 2 being the upper rightmost and the dot right below that for B. So I have an example here of me writing using this slate and stylus, and currently I have on here, my name is George, and I have an addiction for, and I've reached the end of the line, so I'm going to go down to the next line. Iced coffee, period. And then, as you can see, I have legible Braille. And so although this method can seem somewhat arduous, it's a very inexpensive and easy way to produce Braille. The cost of a slate and stylus is quite low, anywhere from a couple bucks on up. And slates come in both plastic and metal. The next step in Braille production is the Braille writer, or Brailler as it's also called. Here I have two examples. The first is the Perkins Classic Brailler, which has been in use for over 50 years. And the other example is the new Perkins APH Braille writer. The Brailler consists of a 6-key keyboard for Braille entry. The 6 keys with the spacebar between them represent a Braille cell. And so you'd use the different keys to put in a different piece of the Braille cell. You then have the backspace key and the enter or new line key, as well as the carriage return, the Braille eraser, and the margin. I'm now going to demonstrate how to write using a Braille writer. This is a test of the new Perkins APH Braille writer. I enjoy its ease of use and the light footprint. Then if I were to make an error, for example, I put an F down when I meant to put some other letter down, I can simply backspace and then delete. And then put in what I meant to put in. And if I wish to read what I've written, I can pop up the back, and then I have a smooth, flat surface for reading, which is a very nice and innovative feature.
A man is using a slate and stylus, a Braille writer, a refresher Braille, and types on a laptop.
Technology and people who are blind or low vision with George McDermott. Braille Part 2.
The next step, and getting into the realm of higher tech, is the use of a Braille note taker. The note taker is defined by being basically a PDA with Braille. And so on one of these devices you would have the ability to do word processing, navigate the internet, and various other tasks which are performed through the use of the Braille keyboard, as well as getting output both from speech and from the Braille display itself. We're going to be demonstrating now the Braille Sense Plus made by GW Micro, and we currently have a set of speakers plugged in order to enhance the audio experience. And so I've turned on the Braille Sense Plus. You will note that the row of dots that were all up while the machine was turned off are now lowered, except for the ones that are up, and that is shows what is being displayed on the screen currently, File Manager, along with left parenthesis F, right parenthesis, which indicates that if we were to type in the F command into the Braille keyboard, it would then put us to this item. You can navigate several ways, either by the first letter of the program that you wish to access, as you would with a computer, or you can simply go down using the spacebar command.
Word processor left parenthesis, W right parenthesis, GW sense navigation left parenthesis, V right parenthesis.
Or you can go back up in the list by using the backspace, or also called the .7 command.
Word processor left parenthesis, W right parenthesis.
And then when you've reached a program that you wish to use, you can press the Enter button or the .8 command.
Blank.
And it said blank, which means that we're into a Braille document. I'm now a Word document. I'll now create a Word document. I'm now in the word processor, so I'll simply
space
start typing.
.6 TH is I S is A T E S test of A N O T E T A K E R note taker with A .6 R E F R E S H A B L E refreshable B R L Braille lower D P L A Y lower D display period.
And then if I wish to read through the document, I can do so using a hotkey command to read it back auditorily. Or if I wish to simply read it using the refreshable Braille display, I can do so using the up and down scroll buttons on either side. That indicates that I've reached the top of the document, so I can then start reading through. Go down to the next line and continue reading. And then if I notice that there's an error somewhere that I need to fix, I can use one of the cursor routing buttons above the display to go to that point in the document. So for example, if I notice there's an error, I simply click the button above where the what I'd like to fix, and the cursor goes there. I can fix it, and then subsequently go right back where I need to go. It works rather like a mouse on a computer in a document. And then if I wish to exit, I can do so either by saving the document, or if I simply wish to go out, I know that I'm going to be working on this document later in the day, I can simply hit the F1 key, which is the lower left-hand most button below the Braille display.
File Manager left parenthesis, F right parenthesis.
And it takes me back out to the main menu where I can subsequently perform another task. I'm now going to demonstrate the use of this with a rather faster mode of speech. This is more the mode that I or an advanced user would use it at. So I'm back in the main menu. I'll skip to the word processor by simply using the W command. And that popped me right back into the document. And then I'll simply start brailing again.
X, T, N, lower E, H, R, E, R, lower F, I, U, S, E, N, to the 10. Space, lower E, to the 10 period.
And again, I can go through it in the same manner, read quickly, and edit and perform a number of tasks in this manner. Finally, we have a refreshable Braille display. The refreshable Braille display differs from the note taker in that it typically will have no internal memory. You simply use it either via USB or Bluetooth connection in order to have a tactile interaction with the computer or device that you're using. The device we have here is the Refresh-A-Braille 18-cell display produced by available from the American Printing House for the Blind. The 18 cells along with the cursor routing buttons, and then below that we have the way that you would input Braille via the Perkins-style keyboard and the spacebar.
Technology and People Who Are Blind or Low Vision with George McDermott, Braille Part 2. Video production, Deb Branch, Tara Lynn Gray. Consultation, Jim Olson. Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. Learning, Thriving, Leading. 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80903. www.csdb.org. With George McDermott. Braille Part 3.
We come now to hard copy Braille, and hard copy Braille comes in several different types. I have here what's called a twin vision book, where the Braille and print are together. The book looks just like the print copy of the book, but inside it has Braille. So we have the print on one side, and on the other side you have the Braille that you can subsequently read. And then you can turn the page and go from there. I also have an example of a hard copy textbook. This is an example of a pre-calculus textbook produced by the American Printing House for the Blind. And inside, you can see on one side we have an example of hard copy Braille, and on the other side we have an example of what's called a tactile graphic, which is used to produce various graphical images that you can't reproduce on a refreshable Braille display.
A girl in high school reads from a textbook in Braille. A boy in high school reads from a textbook in Braille. An elementary student reads a Thanksgiving story in Braille.
Technology and People Who Are Blind or Low Vision with George McDermott. Braille Part 3. Video production, Deb Branch, Tara Lynn Gray. Consultation, Jim Olson. Colorado School for the Deaf and the Blind. Learning, Thriving, Leading. 33 North Institute Street, Colorado Springs, Colorado 80903. www.csdb.org.